Sarah, can you do roll call?
President Bucher,
Here.
Young,
Here.
Hopkins,
Here.
Gant,
Here.
Faber,
Here.
Foley,
Here.
Barheit. Thank you.
Turn your. Thank you. Did we meet open meeting compliance?
The original agenda was posted last week, Friday, both here at the Village Hall and online, and the updated agenda was posted this morning at 10:30 in both places as well.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, do I have a approval of the agenda sequence or is there any changes? All good?
Sequence approved.
All right, great. Okay. With that, we will move on into public comments. Please address the board. There will be no back and forth discussions and there is a 3-minute time limit. Christine Lamb, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Oh, you didn't want to? Okay. All right, great. Shannon Hahn, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everyone. Shannon Hahn, 9814 Antioch Road. This is very hard for me today. But I wanted to let you all know and the public know that this administration does not value village employees. There's something on the budget today that I wasn't aware of until a conversation was last week and then today through email. But I am resigning effective immediately. I just can't do it anymore. I can't. I wanted to say a lot more, but I'm going to cry, so I'm not going to.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to number 6, President's comments. I would like to take this time to thank our employees, actually. I understand that everyone is working hard. I've gotten a lot of compliments on the changes that have happened. The level that the employees are stepping up and responding to, which I do believe is due to changes that we have made and opportunities that have been given. There are expectations, but I believe that with training and we are going to be a better village. I also want to thank our clerk because I have received numerous compliments from all over our county on how we ran our election, as well as from our a lot of our residents. It was a seamless election, and I would like to thank all of the employees that were part of that. I saw highway department employees, I saw village employees. That is a lot of work. And so thank you. I think we were, our numbers were very impressive as far as our voting percentages and how quickly we submitted those to the county. So just wanted to say thank you for that. We will move on into number 8, public hearing on fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. think we have a typo in our agenda, but so we will now conduct the public hearing for the agenda items in the following manner. At the hearing, any resident or taxpayer can comment on the budget. Individuals who wish to speak shall please come forward one at a time. State your name and address for the record and address this board directly. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Please try to avoid being overly redundant or duplicative of speakers before you. That does not mean you cannot speak to the same budget issue, but you may feel free to simply say you agree or disagree for reasons already stated. Lastly, please refrain from personal attacks and maintain courtesy and order so that everyone who would like to be heard can be heard and so that the public business on the agenda tonight can be completed. The board may ask for clarification during the public hearing, but for the most part, board comments should be reserved until the public hearing is closed. After all comments have been heard, I will then close the public hearing. If there is anyone here to speak on the budget, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Ramsey, do I need to ask this 3 times? I do not. I will ask again if there's anyone here to speak on the budget. Okay, then I close the public hearing. We will go on to number 9, presentations, petitions, and communications, discussion and possible action on the following. 9.1, review and approval of the 2025 proposed Village of Salem Lakes budget. Resolution number 2024.11-116, a resolution for adoption of the 2025 Village of Salem Lakes budget, establishing the village tax levy to support said budget.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget as presented. I'll second.
All right, trustee Gant, second by trustee Hopkins, open to discussion.
I did have some questions before, but I think I got them answered on the monies.
Okay.
Hopefully we can follow that way.
Okay. Anyone else? We can have a discussion. Yeah, just turn on your mic.
Concerning impact fee funds or for the building that we can't build with them fees over in Silver Lake. And the other one was with the loader. But this is actually a mute since it has to come in front of us to be voted on anything over 5,000.
Correct. Yes.
It's just a
Right. So even if we fund it, does not mean we spend it. So,
I just think like gang carry.
anybody else have any other questions or comments on the budget?
Good.
No? Okay. We will do a roll call vote then. Trustee Faber,
Yes.
trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
trustee Gant,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Young,
Yes.
trustee Barheit.
Yes.
And I'm a yes, motion carries unanimous. 9.2, review and approve 2024 budget appropriations, resolution number 2024.11-114. I am going to ask for this item to be tabled until the December 2nd meeting. So I make a motion to table.
Second that motion.
Is there any discussion? Okay. We would just like to get a better handle on what our costs are going to be this year before we approve that. So. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, That is tabled. 9.3, review and approve assignments from 2024 budget to the 2025 budget. Resolution number 2024.11-115.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Trustees Gant and Faber. Any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, Treasurer's Office, discussion and possible action on the following. 10.1, approval of vouchers and disbursements for October 2024 in the amount of $1,262,781.19 as reviewed and presented. I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Seconded by trustee Faber. Any questions, comments? Right. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, Clerk's Office, discussion and possible action on the following. 11.1, approval of minutes for the October 21st, 2024 Village Board meeting.
Abstain.
I'll
Um,
move to approve.
I'll second.
So we have Faber and Foley and Sarah, did that correction get made? Yeah, okay, great. All right. So we'll do a roll call on this. Trustee Barheit,
Yes.
trustee Young,
Abstain.
trustee Gant,
Yes.
trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
trustee Faber,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries 6-0-1. 11.2, approval of applications filed with the clerk for an operator license and alcohol licensing with approval contingent on background check clearance, completion of beverage server class, and payment of the necessary fees. Operators Jennifer Jankovich, Lillian Schweiss, Elizabeth Witt, and Lana Spates. And an agent change for Treber Mini Mart as presented.
I would like to make one comment. I'm looking to table the Class B liquor license for New Taste of Italy. I tried to get a hold of the applicant. We're missing some paperwork in order to process the application. Therefore, I'd like to table it till the 2nd.
Okay, I'll do that as a second action here. So we'll just do the operators and the agent change. I will make a motion to approve the operators and the agent change as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by trustee Gant. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I will make a motion to table the Class B beer and Class B liquor for the New Taste of Italy to 12/2 meeting.
Correct. Second that motion.
Okay, we have a second by Young to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 11.3, 2024 general election update.
All right. So as you all know, we had the election just last week on the 5th. Everything went really great. Actually, it wasn't last week. It was, gosh, 2 weeks ago. Seems like just yesterday. We had a 94% voter turnout, which in my opinion is very big in a municipality our size. We had 753 people register the day of the election, which we are still processing. And we had approximately 80 poll workers at all 4 of our locations, the 3 polling locations and central count downstairs. So I would like to thank those poll workers and staff. Both Shannon and Tia were amazing, as well as all the other departments that helped pitch in the day of the election. We have 45 days to process the general election, get all of the participation in, the registrations, and close it. At that point, then when we close it, the residents will be able to see their voter participation online. It's a long process. We're doing it manually now, one by one. But I'm hoping to probably resurrect our electronic poll books that are in the basement, the Badger books. If we get those up and running in 2025, the election would have already been closed by now. So I'm hoping to stream more in 25, but to end 24, we ended on a very high note. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 12, Public Works, discussion and possible action on the following. 12.1, recognition of excellence sign policy.
In your portal, there is a draft sign policy recognizing excellence from citizens. It breaks it down into the criteria for excellence recognition, community service, leadership, innovation and creativity, exceptional achievement, and resilience and integrity. It also addresses funding responsibility, that is the recipient or their designee is responsible for funding it. It has standards for the sign, which is basically it must abide by all federal, state, local laws, including our local zoning laws. And duration of maintenance for the sign, also approval process. So if you like it, we can adopt it as is, or if you recommend any changes, I can make those and bring it back.
Brad, where's this sign located at?
This is for signs on public property or right of way. Say the class of 25.
Yeah.
Wilmot High School team wins a state championship.
Is it in the portal?
Don't see them.
I don't think it's in the portal.
I think it is.
It is?
Where at?
It is. Okay, hang on. Oh, I see it now.
Yep.
I reviewed this previously and I think that is great. Where will we house this? Will this be on our website, Brad? Do you know?
Pardon me?
Will this be available on our website for
Yes.
people? Okay. Does anyone have any questions? I make a motion to approve the recognition of excellence sign policy as is.
I second.
So Bucher and Polley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 12.2, selection of Strand Engineering to fulfill the engineering services request for proposals, RFP, for the wastewater treatment plant and water tower.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Hopkins and Gant. Discussion, questions?
Just a proposal, correct?
It would be the selection of Strand, right? We've
Correct.
already had the, yeah. So it'd be choosing them.
Again.
Mhm. Okay, last call. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, Parks. Discussion and possible action on the following: 13.1, installation and purchase of playground equipment for Camp Lake Park from MWP Recreation in the amount of $119,674.55. This is in conjunction with a grant totaling $61,973 from Game Time Community Champions.
At the Park Commission meeting, they reviewed three proposals, two from Lee Recreation, one from MWP. They selected the MWP. It had more activities and the grant was for $61,973, bringing the total to $119,674.55 as opposed to Lee Recreation, which was $118,434 and $119,296, and that was after their $74,827 markdown. So the recommendation from the Park Commission was MWP Recreation.
So this is a total spend out of the parks budget of $119,674, right?
Correct.
Is that out of special impact fee?
It's out of this year's leftovers.
It didn't come out of that impact.
No.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Would anyone like to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve the MWP Recreation proposal. I'll second.
Okay, Hopkins in favor. Any questions, comments? Jared?
Um,
All right. Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, Fire Rescue Department, discussion and possible action on the following. 14.1, resolution number 2024.11-117, establishing the Village Emergency Medical Services EMS billing fees.
Good evening, Board. Thank you. We're asking for an increase through creation of a resolution, increase the service fees that we charge for EMS billing. We've noticed that over a period of time, there has been no significant increases in the amount of services that we charge for. Therefore, we think that it's appropriate to ask for an increase in service charges. The last one that was effectively done was 2016, followed up by another one in 2021. At that point in time, we were charging approximately $850 per call. Current industry standard is nearly double that. And in order to recognize appropriate revenue for the department and the village, we're asking for an increase at this time. I believe you have the documentation from the portal, which recommends an increase of $850 to $1,600 per standard ALS call. There are additional fees associated with that, up to and including fire calls and airlift transport, various other calls in there. I think it's appropriate that we investigate and possibly increase our fees at this time.
What's the difference in care between BLS and ALS?
Typically, BLS is basic life support that doesn't involve much in the way of intravenous or other medications, cardiac drugs, life support type medications and procedures.
How about ALS 1 and ALS 2?
Advanced life support is intravenous medical intervention, intubation, and other cardiac type life-saving events.
The fees, the initial fees for all three are the same.
Correct. Correct. Many of the same services that we provide, whether it's a BLS call or an ALS 1 or ALS 2, are very, very similar. The cost to the village and the cost to the department remains very similar. Where it gets into additional costs or whether or not we get invasive in some of our treatment and behaviors.
And that's where you have your additional supplies underneath.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Also important to mention that insurance covers many of these fees. And whatever isn't able to be covered by insurance, we do have an inability with our billing service, paramedic billing services, that if you have an inability to pay, there is a write-off procedure. So the public is able to contact PBS and say, hey, I don't have the financial means ability to pay this. And then they will be able to work with the residents to be able to go through a form for write-off. So not everybody will be approved, but if you really do have a hardship, there is an ability to have that happen. So I thought that was important to mention.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the billing in 2024 going forward.
I'll second.
Hopkins and Polley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, Administrator, 15.1, discussion requesting guidance on the cost threshold for requests for proposals, RFPs.
Your Honor, before I step down, I just want to say
Your
thank
Honor.
you and support and recognize the members of our department that are here tonight supporting us and recognize their efforts. And we really appreciate all that they do for us. What's taking place tonight benefits them. And I want to say thank you to them very much. Thanks for
Yes,
being here.
thank you, guys. Okay, now we will go on to 15, Administrator, discussion requesting guidance on the cost threshold for RFPs.
Thank you. And this is truly just a discussion item, seeking guidance as to what the board is interested in for cost thresholds for RFPs, and Ramsey is here as well. He has a little bit of background information if you guys have questions on what RFPs are typically used for.
All right, so the idea here would be, oh, sorry.
I'd like to have Ramsey, if you don't mind, give a
Oh, sure.
quick background on what RFPs are usually used for the beginning of the discussion.
Okay.
Okay, so this will actually be relatively short since I think whatever guidance we'll bring back and try to implement something for you. I don't believe your village code speaks to minimum bidding or other requirements for requests for proposals. The only state statute that really addresses this is 62.15, which is in the world of public construction. And we can give you some definition as to what that all includes. Obviously, a brand new building, it can sometimes include renovations, that kind of thing. But very often, everything else doesn't fall into that statute. So when you think about services, even as lawyers, when you go out RFP for any kind of service, any kind of professional service, it doesn't fall under that. Oftentimes, communities do that simply because a matter of the practicality of it to try to get bids and quotes and see where you stand in terms of qualifications and the bottom line dollar. But the only state statute that really addresses and calls for having any kind of bid or a request for proposal is the one dealing with public construction. Everything else is just a matter of discretion, I suppose.
So when you say that, it's a question for you, Ramsey. When you say that state statute doesn't allow for or allows for, however you look at it, you're saying that we can't create any form of thresholds unless it's in the realm of construction, or it's not typical?
No, you can absolutely create thresholds and guidelines. The only statutory requirement, it deals with public construction. So in other words, the state legislature has already decided that when any local government is going to go out to bid or request for proposals on the subject of public construction, that is the one that has parameters that have already been set by the legislature. And we can certainly have that reflected in a policy you create. You can touch other areas, but that is within your discretion. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just thought it's always nice to start with the baseline.
Sure. So I guess one of the thoughts on this was anything that creating some kind of a threshold along the lines of, I'm just throwing out numbers here, say beyond 50,000 anticipated expenditures that we go out for RFP was just something that some of us were discussing, and maybe where that's born from is the project over there for Velmar and Yaws at 250,000. It would be nice to have it set to where anything over 50,000 that we go out for RFP instead of just awarding it. And the general public in the last few elections has spoken in regards to wanting more transparency from the village of Salem Lakes. And so that's where that idea came from.
What does everyone think of the threshold of $50,000. Cassandra, do you have an opinion on that? Do you think it should be lower?
I think 50,000 is a reasonable threshold. And remember that everything that we do, if we spend more than 5,000, we have to come to the board for approval on it anyways. And so as we're doing projects, we try to brief you ahead of time before we go too far down the road on projects and seek your approval that, hey, is it okay if we pursue this project? Yes or no? And if you say yes, then we pursue it, but then you can give us more guidelines as well at that point as to is this going to exceed that $50,000 threshold? If yes, then we can go look for RFPs. So I think 50,000 is reasonable.
So Pete, are you looking more for services for this, or is it across the board?
It was more across the board, I guess, and I want to say that carefully being, gosh, a car is 50,000 now. You know what I mean? It really comes in front of us anyway, but where it's appropriate, I guess maybe is the way I want to answer it. And I'm not in this position long enough to know that I should say it's blanket across the board. And I would look to longevity here for advice on that.
Senior geriatrics.
No, chose longevity carefully.
I think it's important to,
And that was the reason I was asking, because when you look at the pickup trucks we buy, those are typically under $20,000. And then when you go to the add-ons and everything else, and that's why I was asking that question. Is it across the board or is it more services?
Right. Yeah. And I guess you said 20,000 for a pickup truck. There isn't a $20,000 pickup truck here anymore. But yeah, you build it kit. But ultimately, yeah. So that's just the concept was mostly services, but just in general for the public, mostly, I'd say probably mostly services and construction, since construction's required. I guess a moot point to bring that into it, but obviously that would be included.
I think it's just,
Good practice.
cost checking.
Yeah.
So
I think it's also important to note that we already bring 3 quotes now for purchases of equipment. And so you will always get 3 things to choose from. Here are 3 proposals. We've done our due diligence, tried to find the best prices out there. So if it's equipment, cars, anything like that, services and construction are really where I think this RFP fits best. So.
Absolutely.
okay, so I guess can you work with Ramsey, I guess, to draw that up and then bring it to what do you think, the December 2nd or the 16th?
16th, please.
Okay.
And I guess too, in the past, speaking with Ramsey, that there actually technically isn't a requirement to have 3 bids when you say you're doing 3 bids, but that we're moving to make that a practice for better fiscal transparency to the community. So
That's correct.
per the state of Wisconsin, a lot of things we just have to get a 1 bid for, technically, right?
Correct.
Yep. Okay, so that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 16, closed session, 16.1. Convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub E. Deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session for the following purposes: lease options for old fire rescue building at 9920 Antioch Road. And 16.2, convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub E. Deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session for the following purposes: IAFF Fire and Rescue Union Contract. And 16.3, closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub G for purposes of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or may be involved, specifically concerning code enforcement proceedings involving property at Frank A. and Shannon A. Shubat, Tax ID 704-120-054-0351. Which is 7014 284th Avenue in Salem. Carlton E. and Deborah J. Habendat, Revocable Trust. Tax ID 704-120-204-0150, known as 28307 98th Street in Salem. Kevin B. Cook, tax ID 704-120-123-0515, known as 22605 83rd Street, Salem, and Adam Miller, tax ID 704-120-263-0260, known as 11510 Antioch Road in Trever. I make a motion to convene into closed session. Okay. Pete Polly,
Yes.
Mr. Faber,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Gant,
Yes.
Mr. Young, Mr. Barheit,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. We are in closed session. Quiet. Okay, we had, sorry, 16.4 reconvene into open session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 sub 2 for possible additional discussion and or action concerning any matter discussed in closed session. I made the motion to reconvene into open, seconded by trustee Barheit, and it was a unanimous vote. Items 16.1 and 16.2, there is no action taken. Item 16.3, I make a motion to direct staff to proceed as discussed in closed session. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Seconded by Gant. Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Faber,
Yes.
trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
trustee Gant,
Yes.
trustee Young,
Yes.
trustee Barheit,
Yeah.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries unanimous. I make a motion to adjourn. Trustee Barheit, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right.